Well, guys, man, welcome back to another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast, man. We got a major development. NFL Hall of Fame running back Eric Dickerson. Man, he just dropped a major bombshell on the NFL surrounding around Shedeur Sanders in the 2025 draft. But we're going to unpack all that here next, here on the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Well, guys, man, I'm here to tell you, man, we got some breaking news to talk about. Eric Dickerson, Hall of Fame running back, drops a bombshell on the NFL surrounding around Shedeur Sanders in the 2025 draft. Now, we all know coming out of Colorado, man, Shedeur Sanders was supposed to be a first-round pick, late first round, early second round pick. With the talent that Shedeur Sanders displayed in college, the passing yards, the touchdowns, the minimal interceptions. Yeah, he was one of the highest sack quarterbacks in the FBS his first year at Colorado because of the offensive line couldn't protect him, but he still put up numbers. He showed the durability. He showed that he could take a hit. He showed the pinpoint placement of passes. Showed that gunslinger mentality when he had to throw the ball, the completion percentage. And we saw Shedeur Sanders light the airways up in Boulder, Colorado, even coming out of Jackson State. We saw what he did for the HBCU down there at Jackson State when his daddy was the coach and he played for his daddy. And Shedeur Sanders lit it up. Man, put Jackson State right back on the map. Deion Sanders decides to take his talents to Colorado to turn that program around, and he brought his Louis luggage with him. And Shedeur Sanders was his starting quarterback for 2 years, and they turned that program around. Brought in Travis Hunter, brought in Shedeur Sanders, and brought in a whole heap of others. It was a national spectacle going out there in Colorado. Everybody wanted to get firsthand glimpse of the prime effect. You had entrepreneurs, actors, rappers, and everybody showing up to games in Boulder, Colorado. They sold out every game, and they turned that program around. Second year, they went to the bowl, but they lost. But Shedeur Sanders had a fun-filled and impactful college career. Now, we all know what his daddy stands for. We all know what Deion Primetime Sanders stands for. And Deion did everything his way. Deion was a two-sport star, played baseball and football at the same time. A lot of people thought he was cocky. And they think his sons are rubbing off on him. And the way they, display themselves, it's not cocky, it's confidence. And Shedeur Sanders exemplified the NFL prototype quarterback. Everybody was believed that Shedeur Sanders was going to go early in the first round. Draft day comes. He has a draft party at his Deion Sanders' house. Family and friends was there, an intimate ceremony. And the draft started. Cam Ward went 1, Travis Hunter went 2. A lot of people said Shedeur Sanders could have been the number 1 pick to Tennessee. But leading up to the draft, there was a lot of chatter and a lot of noise talking about his interview process. He wasn't prepared for the interviews. He didn't interview well and things like that. So I guess that was a knock on him. But we all know as an NFL quarterback, Shedeur Sanders seemed to be NFL ready. And we sat there and watched the draft unfold, and Shedeur Sanders just kept on slipping down the draft board. Day 1, he didn't get picked up. Day 2, he didn't get picked up. Had to wait all the way to Sunday before he got the call from the Cleveland Browns and was picked in the 5th round at 144. Everybody was talking about the collusion. The NFL had it out for him. They was trying to make an example out of him because of his daddy. You know, his daddy came out and said if he had anything to do with it, he would dictate where Shedeur was going to go, almost like when Eli Manning came into the league. He didn't want to play with the Chargers, played with the Giants. And that was kind of situation that Deion put out there about if he had his way, he would dictate where Shedeur went, Travis went, and Shiloh went. So now it comes that the Cleveland Browns pick Shedeur Sanders up. Now he goes into training camp, don't get reps. He got to find the opportunity. Now this bombshell report comes out from Eric Dickerson. And the thing about it is, Dan Patrick has a podcast, and he was on there with Albert Breer. Albert Breer was in his podcast in the draft. And Dan Patrick said that Eric Dickerson went on the Joe Rogan show or something like that, and he made some comments. And I have the video clip and the audio of what Eric Dickerson said, and you guys ain't gonna believe what Eric Dickerson said. But before we get off into that, we partnered up with Underdog Fantasy, and this is a word from our sponsor. Underdog Fantasy is the best way to play fantasy sports. Let me tell you about the easiest way to get in on some WNBA and NBA action. Find your player, pick higher or lower, win you some extra cash. Pick between 2 to 5 players to fill out your pick'em entry, get every pick right, and win some serious cash. Use my promo code SBD23 and receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Now that it's football time, follow Simply Ball Dropping as I share my picks. Like I said, pick your player, choose your amount, win money. Make picks, win cash. Thank you, Underdog Fantasy, for the partnership with us, and thank you for using promo code SBD23 on Underdog Fantasy. Now, guys, with that being said, let's take a listen to the Dan Patrick Show and listen to what Eric Dickerson had to say. And then after we listen to what he say, I'll come back and I'll give you my thoughts.
Dickerson was on a radio show, Fred Rogan and Rodney Peete on AM 570, and had this to say about Shedeur Sanders.
And I'll tell you this much here, what I heard from someone that's in the NFL, that the NFL told other, don't draft him, do not draft him. We're gonna make an example out of him. And this came from a very good source, good source. And he said that, I won't say who, somebody called the Cleveland Browns and said, don't do that. Draft him. Yep, draft him. Don't do that. Because they weren't going to draft him either. They weren't going to draft him.
Your thoughts, Albert?
Yeah, I always think these sorts of conspiracies are a little overdone. I don't think there was any conspiracy here. I think it's relatively simple what happened. I think the great majority of NFL teams did not view him as a first-round prospect, contrary to what had been out there for the year previous. And then I think what happens is once you get past the first round, you look at the history over the years, not a lot of quarterbacks go in the second or third rounds. It's just the reality of it, like that most teams look at it like if there's a guy who's going to be our long-term answer at the position, we just take him in the first round. And if a guy's not going to be your long-term answer at the position, then you probably aren't going to take him in the second or third round because you're going to be looking for a long-term answer at another position with those picks. So the fate of Shedeur Sanders, I think he fell out of the first round for football reasons. I think he kept falling for everything else, right? Like for the fact that most coaches look at their backup quarterbacks and say, I want you to blend in with the furniture. I don't want to notice that you're even here. You know, that's the way, for better or worse, most teams approach the quarterback position, which I think to some degree short-circuited the careers of guys like Tim Tebow and Colin Kaepernick. So I not even a comparison. Shedeur's case was complicated going into the draft, but I don't think it was that complicated where there was some sort of weird conspiracy to keep him out of the league.
Man, now you heard what Dan Patrick had to say, and you heard what Albert Breer had to say, man. And my take on that is, Albert Breer, you didn't keep it a buck, man. You didn't keep it a buck, man. Hall of Famer Eric Dickerson exposed the NFL. Now, he got that. He said he got it from a credible, reliable source. Now, Hall of Famer Eric Dickerson has no reason to come out and say that. What is the benefit and the gain for him saying that? Eric Dickerson is low key. Eric Dickerson was a great running back. But to hear something from the NFL and somebody connected with the NFL, because you know the NFL is a fraternity, and you hear something like that, you got to take it for face value. But Albert Breer, if you go listen to some of his takes on football and players, you'll understand what I'm saying. His take on Shedeur Sanders, saying he fell out of the first round because of football reasons. What football reasons did he fall out of the first round? If you look at the tape of Shedeur Sanders, he displays everything that an NFL prototype quarterback has to offer. Now, you name one guy that got drafted in the first round, second round, third round that was better than Shedeur Sanders. You don't have this type of energy for Tyler Shuck or Dylan Gabriel. We don't hear nothing about Cam Ward, the struggles he's having in preseason. I know it's preseason for Cam Ward, but we don't hear about the struggles. Y'all sweep that under the rug. He's the number one pick. Everybody said that him and Shedeur, it could have been flip-flop. Shedeur could have went number one. Cam Ward could be in this situation, but he's not. The reality of it is Eric Dickerson dropped a bombshell and just said it was collusion. They got together, called these owners and said, do not take him. We're going to make an example out of this kid. That is some diabolical, asinine shit if I've ever seen it. That is crazy. So you guys, man, get down in the comments section, man. Let me know what y'all think about what Eric Dickerson said. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, turn your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball drops another hot banger, just in case I forgot. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It might not be for you, but it might be for them. And I want to thank all my new subscribers that are supporting me and rocking with me as I cover the Cleveland Browns and Shedeur Sanders. I appreciate the love and support. This is going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host, the man behind the mic, ASAP. Catch you next. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.